The second runner-up, Umar ibn al-Khattab. And this is a man that most of us maybe call his son Umar. So many people I know, what's your name? Abu Umar. Why? I love Umar. Umar is a strange man. Now he was late in accepting Islam. Do you know that? When did Umar accept Islam? In the first month, or in the first 6 months, or in the first year? He embraced Islam on the 6th year. He was a fierce enemy of Islam and of the companions for 6 years. Ya Sheikh, Umar? Yes. He was a man of night, like all the people of Quraysh. Booze and partying and fun. He was the ambassador of Quraysh. Whenever they had to have someone to broker a deal or to mediate between tribes, they would send Umar, because he was young, extremely, and I mean extremely strong, and he was articulate, fluent, could read and write. And these features at the time of Arabia, to be all collected in one person, wasn't anything that was normal. The Prophet ﷺ called him Abu Hafs, and Hafs is the son of a lion, and his nickname is Al-Faruq. When he embraced Islam, the divider, because Allah with him divided between wrong and right, between false and truth. So his name is Abu Hafs Umar Al-Faruq. May Allah be pleased with him. We know the story of his Islam and how were the Muslims so secretive, worshipping Allah in Dar al-Arqam. Nobody was allowed to come and expose themselves until he embraced Islam. And he looked at them and said, "O Prophet of Allah, why are you sitting here? Let's go to the Kaaba." And everybody said, "Kaaba? You crazy? They will kill us on the spot." He said, "No, we will go in 2 lines. On one row, Hamza. On the second row, Umar. Anyone who approaches us, we'll kill him." The Prophet liked the idea. He said, "Bismillah." And they went into the Kaaba in marching in 2 rows. Of course, maybe 20, 30 men only. But still with Hamza and Umar leading these rows, the mushrikeen did not utter a single word. With their hundreds and thousands, they could not even open their mouth. Said, "Wallah, khalas." No, Hamza and Umar, forget it. This is a different ball game altogether. Before he accepted Islam, he was fighting with himself. And he saw the wife of Amir ibn Rabi'ah just as she was traveling to Abyssinia. And he felt sorry for her. And he was a mushrik. So he said, "So you're setting off to travel and migrate?" And she said, "Yes, you did not leave a place for us to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. It's all because of you." So he said, astonishingly, "May your journey be safe." And he left. When her husband came, she said, "Did you hear what Umar said? He wished me that my journey would be safe. I think he's thinking about Islam." And her husband, Amir ibn Rabi'ah, said, "Do you even believe that he is thinking about Islam? Wallahi, his donkey will accept Islam and he will not." Because he was a fierce enemy of Islam. To that extent, the companions never anticipated him becoming a Muslim. And in the 6th year of Bi'thah, he came, Allah opened his heart, and he became a Muslim. Therefore, never ever give up hope. Don't look at a disbeliever, at a kafir, at even an enemy of Islam, and think that he cannot become a Muslim. Wallahi, you never know. When Allah wants to shed the light in a person's heart, he will become a Muslim. But it is not your job. Your job is to call to Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah's responsibility is to open his heart. It is not yours. The Prophet ﷺ, we know that he said that I saw a palace with a maid of Hur al-Ain making wudu outside of it. And when I asked whose palace was that, he said, they told me it is Umar's palace. May Allah be pleased with him. We know that his reign was much, much, much longer than Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr reigned for 2 years plus. Umar reigned for 10 years and 6 months. So the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, in a hadith once, "While I was standing by a well, drawing water from it, Abu Bakr and Umar came. Abu Bakr took the bucket and drew 1 or 2 buckets only, but there was some weakness in his drawing. May Allah forgive him. Then Umar ibn al-Khattab came, and the bucket turned into a very large one in his hands." So the bucket all of a sudden became so huge that he's drawing water like crazy. I had never seen such a mighty person as he is doing such hard work, till all the people drank to their satisfaction and watered their camels that knelt down there. So the Prophet interpreted this as working for Islam, working for Deen. Abu Bakr did not do anything wrong, but he was out of time. He only lived for 2 years and few months, while Umar had 5 times this amount, and that is why Allah gave him a lot of victory, where he went and conquered Persia and Egypt, and the Islamic empire expanded in a way that was similar to none in his reign, because Allah Azza wa Jal blessed him with this. They say Abu Bakr did not want dunya, and dunya did not want Abu Bakr. But in Umar's case, he did not want dunya, but dunya wanted him. It came running after him, but he didn't want it. And this is found. Some of us work hard for dunya, and they worked 11, 12, 15 hours, and they could not collect anything of it. And some of us, subhanallah, Allah sends them the dunya to their doorsteps. Deals and projects and money, and he's not working. He says, I don't want it, and it comes. So this is from Allah Azza wa Jal, a test. He was generous. It was reported that once he came out of half of his wealth and gave it to Allah and the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So imagine if you have 2 cars, and all of a sudden you say, half of my bank account, one of my car, if I have 2 houses, one of my houses, this is all for Allah Azza wa Jal. Can you do that? This is the difference between us and them. And this is why the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, 1 dirham overtook 100,000 dirham. You know, when racing, a car overtakes another car. 1 dirham, the Prophet says, overtook 100,000. A man had 2 dirhams. So he spent 1 for the cause of Allah, meaning he gave 50% of his wealth. And another one who had lots and lots and lots of money, and he took 100,000 and gave it away. Didn't affect him a bit. So it all depends on what the percentage you give, not the amount. If you look at a multi-billionaire, he gave, mashallah, 10 million riyals for the orphans. So what? He had like 60 billion extra. It doesn't matter. In 5 minutes, the interest rate will make him regain more and more. But when you find someone who has only 10,000 dirhams, and he takes 5,000 of all what he owns and gives it to the orphans, this at the side of Allah is far greater than the other. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet of Allah, the best money, the best wealth I have is my share in Khaybar. You know, when Khaybar was occupied by the Jews and the Prophet conquered it ﷺ, he gave certain lands to the companions, and it was very fertile and always fruitful and producing. So it was very productive. So the Prophet gave him a piece of land. He came to the Prophet, he said, oh Prophet of Allah, this land is the best wealth I've ever possessed in my life, and I'd like to give it to Allah and the Messenger ﷺ. The Prophet said, no, keep it, but make it as endowment. In Arabic, we call it waqf. So the land is not in your name anymore, but it cannot be sold. It cannot be given away. It cannot be inherited. Whatever comes out of it is being spent on what you decide. Look at the endowments in the Muslim world. We come here in the center, please give us money, we have this project. Okay, here is 5,000, here is 10,000, here is 100,000, and it's gone. And next month, please give us, next month, please give us, next year, please give us. If you were to make a building or a shopping center or any endowment and say, this is for Allah Azza wa Jal, make all the revenue go to the Islamic center, this is known as sadaqah jariyah. You die and you're buried and your children are buried, and the meter is running with good deeds. Better than 100,000 you pay once and it's gone. So this is what Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, did. Now, we heard in the beginning that Umar was the strongest in the religion of Allah. What do we mean by the strongest? He was tough. The Prophet came, alayhi salatu wasalam, checking on his companions one night. He found Abu Bakr reciting the Quran in a very low voice. You cannot hear it. So he asked him, Abu Bakr, what are you doing? Yani, why is your voice so low when you recite the Quran? He said, O Prophet of Allah, the one I am speaking to is listening to me. He hears me. Is it right? Allah is listening to him. So he went to Umar, and Umar was reciting the Quran loudly. And he said, Umar, what are you doing? He said, O Prophet of Allah, I am waking those who are asleep, and I'm kicking away the shaitan. That is why the Prophet said, O Umar, whenever you walk in a road, the shaitan takes another road. And no one the Prophet ever said this to except Umar. If the shaitan fears him, then might as well the humans would fear him. And that is why a group of women were once sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, singing or chanting because of the defeat of the mushrik army. And all of a sudden, Umar said, can I have permission to come? When they heard his name, they all started wearing the hijab and everything, hiding everything. And the Prophet ﷺ broke into laughter. So Umar came and saw the Prophet laughing. He said, Prophet of Allah, why are you laughing? He said, Umar, if you had seen what they had done, the minute you came, everything changed 180 degrees. And he said, oh, you enemies of your own selves, you fear me more than you fear the Prophet ﷺ? And they said, yes, you're rude, not like the Prophet ﷺ. And this shows you how strong he was in the religion. Not that the Prophet was weak, astaghfirullah, but he was always crossing the extra mile in whatever pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. And we know that he always spoke with wisdom. This is why the Prophet described him once. He said that in every nation there are people who are inspired. Yani, it's not a revelation, but you have this gut feeling that subhanallah always comes true. And in my ummah, if there were anyone who were inspired, it would be Umar. And Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, in 3 incidents, the Quran came verifying his suggestions, verifying his advice to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet would think something, and Umar says, no, Prophet of Allah, it should have been this way. And the Quran comes verifying that the advice of Umar is correct. When he became a Khalifa, when he became Amir al-Mu'mineen, he did not relax. Now, if I were to be given a position of a CEO or a director or something big, I would lay down, put my feet on the desk and drink cappuccino day and night. Khalas, I'm the boss. Umar, when it was daytime, he used to sit and rule and judge cases. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he took 100,000 of me. What should I do? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he killed my son. All cases were displayed and he was the judge. So when it's nighttime, one should go and sleep. He used to spend the night praying, half of it, and the second half, he used to take his stick and go around the Medina streets, patrolling. And this is known as al-asas. And it was practiced until recently in all Arab countries, where you have certain guards who roam and go around the streets protecting the people who are there asleep. He used to do that. And we have so many stories about him listening to women trying to cheat on mixing the milk with water because of the provision, or feeding their children and trying not to breastfeed them so that they would give provisions from Bayt al-Mal. All of this he hears and he corrects. It's all about check and balance. He corrects everything that is wrong in his reign. May Allah be pleased with him. He was very strong in fighting bid'ah. He was very strong in fighting shirk. Unlike us nowadays, shirk is, it's a difference of opinion. He's worshipping grave, he's wearing a cross, he's doing, it's okay. No, it's not okay. When he heard that the tree of Ar-Ridwan, you know Bay'at Ar-Ridwan? Which year was it? Raise your hand. No, which year? Our history. No, it's way behind the Hijrah, after the Hijrah. It was in Dhul Qa'dah of the 5th year of the Hijrah. And this is when the Prophet went to make Umrah, and they blocked him in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, they call it. And they blocked him. He said, no, never ever it was done in entire history of Mecca. To block someone coming for Umrah, they blocked him. They said, no Umrah. So he sent an ambassador to speak to them. So he told Umar, go and try to delegate with them and tell them that we are only here for Umrah and going back. Umar said, listen, if I go, they will kill me on the spot. You know how harsh I am with them. But send Uthman. Uthman, brothers and cousins and uncles of Bani Umayyah, they're dominating Quraysh, send him. So he sent Uthman, and Uthman went there and they honored him, his family, his relatives, and he told them, come, make Umrah. He said, no, I cannot make Umrah without the Prophet ﷺ. So he didn't go back immediately because he was trying to talk to them, and the companions felt that they have assassinated him. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard this, he said, okay, call all the Muslims, give me the pledge to die fighting. And this is Bay'atu Shajara. So they all came and gave the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ under the tree. This is the tree, Bay'atul Ridwan they call it. Now in Umar's time, he heard that the people are going to that location and they're praying 2 rak'ahs and coming back. Why? Seeking Allah's blessing. But this is an innovation. Ya Shaykh, we're praying for the sake of Allah. This is haram. This is like someone who comes and prays. And this was another incident when Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, may Allah have mercy on his soul, one of the greatest tabi'een, was in the masjid of Medina. He came between adhan and iqamah of Fajr. And he started praying 2 rak'ahs, Assalamu alaikum. 2 rak'ahs, Assalamu alaikum. Sa'id told him, hey, come, my nephew, you know, the elders always call the youngsters nephew and they call them uncles. So he said, my nephew, don't do this. Because the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from praying between the adhan and the iqamah of Fajr, except the 2 rak'ahs of Sunnah. That's all. And of course, you all know this, inshallah. You cannot pray voluntary prayers. This is haram. Other prayers you can. It's open. But only Fajr, only the 2 rak'ah of Sunnah, that's it. So the boy looked and said, do you think I'll pray for Allah and He will punish me for praying for Him? Look at the attitude. I'm telling you, the Prophet is saying this and you're asking me about logical? The Prophet is saying, don't pray. And you say, do you think I'm praying for Allah and He will not punish me? So he said, Allah will not punish you for praying for Him. Allah will punish you for going against the Sunnah. So Umar, when he heard of this, he said, no, this is innovation, this is bid'ah. How can you seek blessing in a place that the Prophet never directed us to us? He said, chop the tree off. And likewise, if they tell us that this is the house of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was in Mecca, and people go and pray and wash the walls and say, barakah, barakah, mashallah, demolish it. The Prophet did not preserve it himself. And when he came in the conquest of Mecca, he did not say, okay, put a fence, this is a place where we should visit inshallah every week. No. He even said that this is not my house. Aqil took it. I have nothing to do with it. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, sent Amr ibn al-As to conquer Egypt. And in 1 year, there was drought and the Nile became less and less in water. The people of Egypt said, we have a ritual, we have to do this. What is your ritual? We take a virgin and we put her in a boat and we throw her in the Nile. Amr ibn al-As wrote to Umar, said, what do I do? The people are shouting and crying, we're dying, we need water. So he said, no problem, take my letter and throw it in the Nile. So Amr ibn al-As receives the letter and it says, from Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Amir al-Mu'mineen, to the great Nile of Egypt. If you run by yourself, in a way, in Arabic, the hell with you. This is hard translation. But if you run by the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah will make you run. And Amr ibn al-As, of course, read this. Was Umar addressing the Nile? Was he? Definitely not. He was addressing the people who had this convention. So Amr read it to the people of Egypt and he threw it and Allah Azza wa Jal made it rain and everything was okay. When making tawaf, look at Tawheed. While people were behind him, he comes to the black stone. He says to the black stone, Wallahi, I know that you are a stone that holds no benefit and can protect from no harm. Had I not seen the Prophet ﷺ kiss you, I would not have kissed you. He's talking to a stone. He's talking to those watching to know Tawheed, to know that there is nothing in it. Compare this with those who come and take a shower to the black stone. Wash it and do this and exercise. Or they do this when they come to the chamber of the Prophet ﷺ, the grave. They do this with the windows and they carry a piece of cloth, Maqam Ibrahim, washing it and cleaning it and taking it back home. And then they wash it and the water, they drink it. A'udhu billah, what are you doing? He says, no, this is remedy from typhoid and cancer and kidney stones. And where are you getting this from? All of this is nonsense. Umar was protecting Islam. May Allah be pleased with him with this. He would not leave an incident without bringing the attention of the others when it's against Islam. When he was stabbed, he's dying. Khalas, on his dying bed, a man from the Ansar comes and gives him greetings and condolences and say, inshallah, you are a shaheed and so and so. As the boy is leaving, Umar looks and he finds his thobe, his garment, below his ankles. Ya akhi, you're dying. Come on. Umar, what are you doing? He said, bring him back, bring him back. And the boy comes and says, Umar tells him gently, my son, raise your garment because it is more fearful of Allah and it is best for your garment. It will not worn off. It will remain more months or years to you. It is more fearful to Allah. أَتْقَى لِرَبِّكَ وَأَبْقَى لِثَوْبِكَ. So even at the darkest moments, just about when he's going to die, he does not leave al-amr bil-ma'roof wa-nahy an-munkar, may Allah be pleased with him.